Thank you very much, Ms. Barbero. There has been an ongoing and extensive comment period for the SEC's proposed climate-related disclosure rule, which would require U.S. publicly traded companies to disclose annually how their businesses are assessing, measuring, and managing climate-related risk. This rule would include disclosing greenhouse gas emissions as a measure of exposure to climate-related risk. Has the SEC received comments or other indications that the climate information the proposed rule would require be disclosed is in fact materially important for making investment decisions in a company? If so, would you please identify what those comments are?
Thank you. We've received a record number of comments in response to the climate proposal. And any number of those comments are supportive of the proposal and the disclosure of greenhouse gas emissions. In terms of specific comments and what specific commenters have raised, we'd be happy to get back to you if there's a question on that we could answer, but we have, again, received a record number of comments. Staff are actively reviewing and processing those comments as we move forward to any final rule that would be adopted by the Commission on the climate risk disclosures.
Thank you. I think that clarifies my question. Let me move on, Ms. Barbero. As you know, last Congress, I initiated a bipartisan investigation into the collapse of FTX, which Chair McHenry has continued in this Congress. It is my understanding that the SEC is concerned that some of the materials requested by the committee Republicans would prejudice the parallel ongoing criminal prosecutions as well as its civil enforcement action of Sam Bankman-Fried and possibly other FTX employees. I recognize that there's a delicate balance between providing Congress the information it needs and being careful not to negatively impact any ongoing investigation or enforcement action. I believe the members of this committee are sensitive to that potential problem and want to seek a resolution that accommodates both the concerns of the executive branch and the information needed by Congress. Therefore, it is important for us to understand what efforts are being made by the SEC to provide as much information as possible to Congress without creating a problem for executive branch enforcement actions. Please tell us, how is the SEC balancing the legitimate enforcement concerns with its obligation to provide Congress with information? And when do you expect to resolve this matter?
I thank you for the question, and that is very much what we have endeavored to do in terms of providing the committee with the information that it needs and balancing the important interests that we and I assume the Department of Justice have in not releasing information that could prejudice the criminal trial, which is scheduled to begin in just a few short months in October. We've worked closely with the committee to provide a briefing by experienced staff from the Division of Enforcement on how we work with DOJ in parallel investigations. We've provided a timeline on the FTX matter. We've provided the documents that we could publicly. The challenge here in balancing the concerns is that committee staff has identified as the priority the Commission's action memo, which is the very document that contains the information that could prejudice our civil enforcement action and the parallel criminal investigation. And that really is the challenge, but I would certainly invite the committee to reach out to DOJ directly. They have equities as well in the criminal case and have their own information as well, and so I think that's an avenue that could be pursued.
Well, I'd like you to continue with your work as you have defined it. I'm concerned that some of the Republicans are basically following the leadership of the past president of the United States, they want to defund the Department of Justice. So I want you not to be concerned about what you know you must do
Gentlelady's
and
time
how
has
you must do
expired.
it. And I yield back the balance of my
Gentlelady's
time.
time has expired.